Oh
You'll
my
tell
God.
whenever you're able to now, and more later. Don, if you can, while we're doing our early thing, see if you can pull up the clip of Nikki. Did you see Nikki Freed holding up her?
I didn't see anything.
You didn't see anything.
I've been offline
see if you
for
can pull
2
up
weeks.
The clip of Nikki holding up her card. Because I know we have it.
Yeah.
On our computer.
I truthfully
got it.
Posted and went right off.
Good.
That's it.
And then see,
we're on.
Are we on?
Yeah.
And then see if you can pull up that the 420-day declaration in the Florida House. Welcome back, Ruta.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Hold on, I gotta go live on mine, and Andres is not here today.
Well, that's okay. No, it's funny because when you come like 5,000 miles and you managed to get here on time. Yeah, I came basically 10 minutes, and here I am just rushing in. But no, I feel like Larry King. It's funny. So I had my 420 event. And you're back after 2 weeks in Hawaii. Lovely.
2 weeks in Hawaii. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, no, give us your. So Hawaii, I've been there once.
Let me put this up here.
Yep.
So hold on. I gotta. Can you do that? Can you just put it up somewhere? Donna was gonna come in. She'll come in.
Yeah, it's all good. No, so listen, I was in Hawaii a number of years ago, and there's two things that I remember about it. One is how green it was.
Oh my God, it's gorgeous.
And that's why we put that up as our Facebook welcome back to you, because the island, is literally lush and so green. Oh
God, it's so green.
But the smells. The
smells,
the flower smells, the fragrance.
The whole island just smells beautiful.
Right. It's American paradise, I think is what I call it at the time, because you do feel so American there still.
It's still American, but now there's still a lot of Asian.
Years since I've been
it's
there,
a lot of Asian. Me too. I haven't been there since, God, I was there 15 years ago. And I was on Oahu and Big Island. And this time I was on Oahu and then Kauai for the majority. And I fell in love with Kauai. Kauai to me is probably the most beautiful of the islands, and it was spectacular. And the smells and the aromas, and I have to give shout out to Hawaii. They are so progressive on so many things, and
there's solar. Is there solar everywhere?
They are so.
It's an island, so you think. But
you would think
Puerto Rico too, kind of.
But you would think even like here in Florida, or the Sunshine State, and there every other house when we were driving by, every other house had solar panels. Solar panels are everywhere. They're sustainable. There's no plastic on the island. None. There's no plastic bags anywhere. You cannot get anything in a plastic bag. They don't have plastic straws. They don't have anything. If Donna can film, can we get Donna?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, let me just grab that. Yeah, we'll have you film. No plastic anything. There's hemp products everywhere. They have hemp everything, hemp straws, hemp napkins, hemp everything. They use hemp for everything. So
why not?
Why not? But it was, like I said, so progressive on so many levels. And so shout out to Hawaii. And,
that's cool.
And the only thing that was it was a little pain in the ass. But again, they're islands and they have to protect their people. And their resources was COVID. They were not only masked up the entire time, but to enter or exit any of the islands, you had to get COVID tested.
You had your card, right? So
it doesn't matter. It didn't matter. Hawaii doesn't care. Hawaii, because they're so sensitive for everything, because it's such a small independent area that they couldn't. So you had to get COVID tested going in. There were checkpoints in San Francisco, in fact, set up just for Hawaii. Wow. So you had to get a QR code. The QR code was like your pass. Then in between islands, I was telling Dawn earlier.
It's a brave new world, man.
Yeah, we had like 6 COVID tests. I mean, it was COVID tested like up the wazoo, but it was great. So it's nice to be back. I say with a
your vitamin D level has got to be no fear of the sun from this one.
No fear of the sun.
And 2 weeks, listen, 2 weeks is a great time. I think it gives you a little bit of time to. And when you go to Hawaii, you need that.
Because it's 2 days of just fly time, so you lose 2 days coming. And
listen, when it comes to jet lag, I'll just give you one of my favorite ER terms, which is multi-dimensional.
It is multi-dimensional. Now it's 2:30 in the morning for me right now, so I'm a little.
That's right. Well, no, it's a funny feeling.
It's a funny feeling. I'm like,
I would always say when you do night shifts, the first night is always different than your third night, because it just is. Because the first night you get your sleep bank charged up.
Yeah, you kind of are like, okay, it's kind of weird.
And then by the third night, you're completely destroyed. And I always said in the emergency medicine world, don't schedule me for the fourth night. If there's a fourth night, that's really where the danger can be.
Coming in, yeah.
Because by that fourth night, you can't get that restorative sleep.
I agree.
I agree with that. And I did have my ER night. And thank you to Curaleaf for sponsoring that.
I want to hear about it.
So that's archived now, right? And people can find it.
Everybody.
And I'll make sure that we make sure how, because I've had some people. So it was great, really. And so 420, listen, 420 was interesting this year. And listen, if I have one of the greatest, in my personal opinion, posts of my own, and it was Shaq yesterday. I took a picture while he was sitting there in what I called National
Drug Testing Day. I thought that was hilarious.
Because it's a natural day that's going to follow 420, right? And 420 was interesting this year because it really seemed to be more of a national recognition day. I think with New York doing what they did. So that was right before you left, right, Ruta?
New York. I think New York had just fallen. Yeah. So
and interesting. People want to know. Of course, New York got home grow, and New York got expungements. The taxes going to the appropriate
they
places.
Did it well.
Hopefully, so got to be implemented. We know how they can screw it up, and we'll get to that in a moment. But the point is, people say, why can't we get that here in Florida? And I say, well, it's obvious. Because our legislature completely stunted whatever progress we wanted. But here's the good news, Ruta. And so Ruta's been off social media.
Yeah, I haven't been in touch, to be honest.
A number of lovely pictures.
Just pictures, but I didn't connect at all.
Things like Nikki Free proudly holding up her card. If Don has it, we'll cue it up later. Hang on. That's all good. But the point is, the 2 weeks that you were gone, we were able to stop literally that 10%.
Oh, they did stop it. Very good. So it died in the Senate, or where did it die?
No, it died. Ruta, it died in the House.
Oh, good.
It died in the House, and let me tell you why and how. And I really hope that we have a lot of advocates watching this morning, because I want to shout out to everybody how important it was what went on this year. And I explained it to everybody. And Florida politics much better than I. Because we're a term limited state, every 2 years we get a new crop of freshman legislators. I typically use a different term, but I will give them the most undue respect.
That's nice.
And that's Democratic and Republicans,
Yeah.
But the point is, as you know, in that House, they have minimal power or basically no power. It's a senior-led, especially in the House.
Yeah.
Senate, also, but a little bit less so. But in the House, believe me, the leaders, they rule the roost.
They do.
The hearing, Ruta, the committee hearing number 3 never happened. It was never scheduled.
Excellent.
And that's so important, because the reason that's important is that what we understand is that the freshman legislators on the Republican side literally had to go to senior leadership and say, stop this. This bill's a dog. This bill has not one good thing for one patient here in the state of Florida. So the Republican freshman legislators, if they got 100 calls or emails into their offices, and we know they did, because my patients tell me that, and I know that, and I've had legislators tell me that, the volume of calls and emails on this particular bill was more so than almost they've ever seen on any other bill. And 98% of those, I guarantee you, to the Republican freshmen were, what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing?
No one wanted this.
No.
So wherever the donors or whatever the leadership or whatever, the freshmen had to go to leadership and say, listen, if you're going to make us vote on this bill of this dog of a bill, is our first entry into this House of Representatives.
They're not going to get reelected. Because they won't get reelected.
So it was an unbelievable push that we've quite frankly never seen before. And to be honest, we hope they don't come back next year. Give this up. We need the progress that we need. And I know you were here because when I went to Tallahassee, I think my memory still serves me.
I was still here.
And I know. No, but seriously, I mean, that whole bit, and Roach doubled down with an op-ed that still talked about, every bit of what he did in the first committee meeting. So to say that there's been any learning done is still scary to me. And we still have about 9 days of session left. where they can still try to slip something in. But listen, everybody, so, Don, it's almost, I know it's easy because of how well, and thank you so much for your management of the Zoom the other night. You did a great job. And we had people from all over the country tune in.
Awesome.
Peter Grinspoon, Lester's son was on for a bit. We had some other national leaders. I was disappointed in the leaders of ACEP and AEM, which are the two emergency medicine groups. They didn't give us a sniff. We're still outlaws. We're still out there causing good trouble. Yes.
Okay.
And even Emergency Medicine News, as you know, Ruta, completely messed up the advertising campaign and the whole bit.
Yeah,
and you had that feeling before.
I think there was pushback.
But it was still a tremendously attended, and really the talks were unbelievable, and the experts that were on there. So we'll go ahead and archive that. We'll make sure that it's on
YouTube and the Facebook
for sure.
We're good.
Really?
But what
were some of the questions that people had?
For sure. So what we talked about were the things that really come up in the emergency medicine world, the hyperemesis of, cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, which, if you're vomiting these days and you use cannabis and you go to the ER, an uninformed ER doctor is going to tell you that the cannabis is causing it, right?
Interesting.
We had a wonderful presentation on the psychiatric issues, that are involved. David Knox gave that. Jeffrey Hergenrather, who's the former president of the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, opened up the evening with a unbelievable, Don knows these are talks I can't give.
Wonderful.
I have a lot of talks that can, but the scientific talks are great. And he was able to also give a good shout out to the Society of Cannabis Clinicians, as do I, for their curriculum and this and that. And then Sherry Yaffe talked about elderly and pediatrics. And then Ira, Price, of course, is classic, and listen, what happened was, unfortunately, though, I really wanted to have a discussion, and it leads into what I was leading to. Unfortunately, Representative Roach's bill was the only one that went forward, right? So there was no other chance. Listen, we're going to lose telehealth, Ruta. You're back, and we are happy that you're back.
Are you?
Hang on, and I want to give a big shout out.
Did they make it official?
No, that's the point. We've tried to even add telehealth to another healthcare bill with telehealth into it, but no, not for cannabis.
When is the expiration?
27th, right, Donna?
Oh, 27th?
Right. Yeah, so that's next Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
So we may be in our last run of telehealth. Now listen, COVID hasn't gone away. New cases are up. So we may yet get another 60-day emergency order, from Governor DeSantis.
Let's hope so.
Because I was stunned. We got the last 2 or 3 from him. So that may yet happen. But it's pathetic. It's pathetic that we can't even get that one singular thing through this particular legislature. Let me tell you something. I am sick and tired of cannabis being a partisan issue in Tallahassee. If there's 500,000 people in the program, Ruta, in the state of Florida, and there are, and Patty continues to get mad at me, it's over 500,000.
But the thing is,
but hang on, there's 250,000 Democrats and 250,000 Republicans. This should be a green issue. It's telehealth, everybody. It's safety. It's convenience for patients. It doesn't enhance the program. It doesn't drive new patients into the program. Nobody gets more THC. So the fact that we can, Don, what I was leading to is I almost want to have another Zoom with Michelle Weiner, Mike McKenzie, Dave Berger, Janester Wilson King. I know I'm leaving out very important people, but my point is, Michelle Beasley and Sasha No, of course, my musketeers that went up to Tallahassee with me. But these are the doctors talking. We have 5 days left in this session. Can you give us telehealth? Come on, everybody. Job protections and hospital and nursing home access and more qualifying conditions.
But can they push it through? I don't think they can do anything in the last 5 days.
Listen, there's going to be amendments in the last 5 days
unless
to
they
bills.
Throw it onto, unless
it's
they
got to be amended onto another telehealth bill. But can we at least get that? Listen, the one thing that we didn't get to the other night, Don, and I was upset about it, but what are you going to do? Doctors, first of all, this. Doctors can't be reined in on time. I told my panel, please, 20 minutes.
It's hard.
I want to try and have time for panel. And really the panel discussion was very, very important because what I've learned is this. Now we're able to pull up Nikki's thing at all, holding up her card. Both. You know what? Cue up Nikki proudly holding up her cannabis card if you can. And let me know when to shut up and it's on. Because Ruta was so classy.
I'm Nikki Fried.
And she's a public servant.
Yes,
so she works for the people, right? Now she is an attorney also, so professional licensure issues might be significant or pertinent for her.
Well, she doesn't practice, but still, I think she's making a statement. Yep. And she ran on the cannabis platform, and that's how she took office.
I know you can't see because we don't have our screen up today, but hang on, go ahead and cue it up, Don. Ruta, I'll show you later.
I'm Nikki Freed, your Commissioner of Agriculture, and I want to show you something. This is my medical marijuana card. It's legal and a direct result of 71% of Floridians voting to allow medical marijuana.
So the reason I think that's so significant, Ruta, is that it's 2021, and you know I speak to this all the time. And we're going to be post-COVID, hopefully, very soon.
Hopefully.
We know there's going to be a significant, quote-unquote, PTSD type syndrome amongst first responders, sure. Healthcare workers, yeah. Doctors, nurses, people. Listen, I love my ICU compadres, okay? And they've taken care of critically ill people for years, don't get me wrong. But the rate of death that they've seen of people that have come in talking, it is different. It's different. You were in the hospital, you know.
And they all said it was very different.
So to me, we have to recognize that cannabis is already being used by professionals, okay? Doctors, nurses, lawyers, bankers, you know, everybody. In society, and people have to have the anxiety pulled out from underneath them of using a substance that's helping them. And even, you know, when you go to a legal adult use state like Colorado or California, there's still professional licensure issues, right? And we need to get that solved. Were you around when the teacher was fired who was assaulted by her student? Right. And there was no impairment issues for her. What we need, and I actually sent this to Peter Grinspoon in a private message the other day, and he's Harvard, you know, guy. And the point is that we need a universal impairment scale, right? Is what we actually need. And actually, this has been worked on. Ira Price told me down in Canada when I was talking to him off mic that he's actually worked on such a thing. But the point is, if you have an emergency room doctor, for example, that does a 12-hour shift, okay, 7A to 7P, or even worse, 7P to 7A, and then goes home, has a great breakfast, and uses cannabis to get his sleep for the day, okay, which is tough. When you're a shift worker, you have to manage that sleep disorder. You know, I still have it. I sleep 4-hour blocks at most. No. But the point is, you're going to get ready to go back to work completely refreshed and ready to go, okay? But you're going to test positive for cannabis. So the point is, if you have a nurse that doesn't like you or a partner that doesn't like you, right? So then they can call for a random test on you, and then there you go. So we need, and listen, I actually researched this for the Zoom the other night. In Florida, they have to show impairment, right? So any doctor, for example, that would hold a cannabis card, the board would have to show that you're a threat to your patients because of your use.
How do you prove that, though? Like,
well, you do. Listen, if you're a surgeon and you walk into
I wouldn't want a surgeon on anything. Well, I don't care what it is.
No, listen, any practitioner, every doctor makes decisions, talks to patients every day. There is absolutely a level of impairment, I think, that can be assessed, but it wouldn't be necessarily from cannabis, alcohol, drugs. Seriously, it could be emotional crisis from someone in your family, God forbid, passing, or your wife or partner leaving you, or as I say, my dog pissed on my leg on my way to work, okay, whatever it may be. But the point is that assessment of impairment is what's important. So cannabis is unique because it's already, and you know, I've talked to this, I spoke to it, I think on the Zoom the other night. Cannabis comes in from the back door of medicine. So people have used it as a substance forever, both medicinally, of course, through the eons, but also recreationally as well for their own purposes. That's so different than any other medicine that you see that is introduced, right? Because it never comes that way. So that's why cannabis will always have some degree, you know, of confusion. So we have about 9 days left in this session, I guess is what it is.
I hope they tag something for telehealth. I think that's a critical thing. Patients still don't want to come in. They're still not comfortable with it. You know, in Hawaii, everything is still very, very different than here. it's still very restricted here. Anywhere you go, anywhere, you have to wear a mask. It's mandatory. Island of Kauai, mandatory. Inside, outside, no matter what you do, you have to be masked or you get fined. So they literally fine you. So you have to have a mask on at all times. So they're still taking it seriously. And so why would you, as a state of Florida, as legislators, not want to protect your patients, give them the telehealth option? It's not for initial, like you said, it's not going to bump up more people coming into the program. It's just protection of patients. So if they really value patient care and if they value, you know, their constituents, they should want this.
And that's a Zoom down. I could literally put together in a day or two just by making a couple calls, you know. But I'm not sure who's listening up there, so I don't think you can pull this one up, Don. But the other great clip of the week,
and I did.
What the Carlos and Mike Greco clip? Yep. Pop that up. This was
I want to see that. I want to. We don't get to see it.
Yeah. So this is declaring 420 day in the Florida House of Representatives during announcements. I want to see this. Hang on, we'll show you later.
Yeah.
You can hear it though.
Additional announcements. Representative Greco, announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to remind everybody, this is one of my favorite days of the year. It is April 20th. I want to wish everybody a happy 420 from myself and Representative Smith. And if you don't know what that means, we're going to be having a celebration in Rep. Roach's office after we get off the floor.
So that was classic, and that was Mike Greco. And thanks to Representative Greco, Representative Smith, Representative Ascomani, Representative Rayner. I know I'm leaving
all the
out. Senator Farmer, of course. You know, Senator Brandis as well on the Republican side did hold his hand up from the get-go and said he was never going to allow this cap thing to happen. Yeah, so listen, those are the positives. But when they laugh, what they have to understand is that they almost affected the lives of over 500,000, thanks, Patty, of over half a million people in the state of Florida in a negative manner. But even more importantly was just the assault on the doctor-patient relationship. You know?
Yeah, it was insulting. Like I said, that Representative Roach, I mean, all due respect to him as a legislator, but as a person who's in office, as an attorney, as himself, also so disrespectful to the medical community.
And a veteran himself, and you know, needs to understand. And listen, and I made this point before in the green room. He's going to continue to sit on the state's drug policy council, okay, which is so concerning. And I think it's appointed. I'm not sure who it's appointed by. If the governor's got a role, or if it's all Speaker of the House. I'm volunteering right now. Everybody, please, I'd love to have a seat on the state drug policy council. That'd be a great thing. Listen, and I'll everybody, and we've had a lot, you know. So Don, wasn't it interesting the other night that actually it was a pretty conservative panel? It was. Very. And there was, listen, we're all concerned about the dabs, okay, and the concentrates, and especially in the developing pediatric population and brains under 25. And we all know that cannabis is a substance that, like every other substance, can be used appropriately. And we pride ourselves here. By the way, Ruta, you know, so we have some new staff members here, everybody. If my patients are watching, which is great. I tell everybody, Sammy and Pat moved to Alabama, everybody, and Kayla had to get a new gig. But the point is, we have wonderful new staff members. It's like adding Pro Bowl wide receivers to Tom Brady's Super Bowl winning Tampa Bay Bucks. Seriously. So, and we're busy, but after telehealth, which is how we got on this tangent, after telehealth goes away, we will see everybody back in again in person in the clinic, and we're going to need to be fully staffed again. We will. Because we're busy, everybody. And the reason that we're busy is because cannabis continues to be an alternative in 2021 for so many things, you know. So many things. And so what was going on cannabis-wise in Hawaii? I mean, are they legal adult use state?
They're legal adult. Right. And they have, but in legal adult use, but they're everything's like in dispensaries, medical dispensaries. So it's similar to here. So you'll see like it's not readily available. Like they have little shops and they have like little cannabis with like a cross on it. Right. So that's where you purchase.
Can tourists just walk in and purchase? They cannot.
They cannot.
Okay. So
they do have reciprocity. Reciprocity. Yes. So if you're a card holder from another state, you can go ahead inside and walk into the stores and purchase. But outside of that, somebody just walking in off the street, you cannot. They don't allow it.
Right.
They have CBD products though.
everywhere.
Every single shop. Like there's hemp something like every other store.
I would suspect you can find Delta 8.
I didn't look, honestly. I was there for the waves and,
I got it. But it's one of the other topics that I wanted to bring up in the chat portion. And it's funny how the tangents have been in this green room this morning, Don. But yeah, that's what happened was the presentations were so great by my panel that unfortunately we didn't get. So Nikki Fried actually laid down a video. No, she laid down a video that I was going to play to introduce the job protections and licensure portion of the evening, which we didn't get to, but also we didn't get to things such as, safe banking passed while you were away.
Oh, it did.
It did. Okay. At least, hold on, in the House.
That's a good thing.
In the House, not yet the Senate. Yep. Right, so it's not yet law.
But still, that's a good thing.
Right, and
but how are they going to? Is it federal or state?
Well, no, it's going to be a federal, type of thing.
It has to be federal.
Right, it's going to come.
Yeah.
Somebody's trying to sell me nothing. Any 216, unless I know who it is, just immediately knock that one off. And I have a 216er in Ohio. My Indians got no hit last week too, almost perfect game. So somebody thinks that when you're away 2 weeks.
I know.
So
I just got sun.
Yeah, well, no,
almost died, but that's
restful.
Okay. No, but restful. Yeah.
But it's just an interesting time nationally as well. So Safe Banking Act passed. But yesterday I heard something very, very concerning. And as a cannabis community, we need to keep our finger on this pulse very closely. They're starting to talk about rescheduling as the next step.
Oh, interesting. That should be good.
We cannot allow rescheduling, and actually rescheduling to 2. Not even 3 or 4. Oh. Rescheduling to 2 is really, 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 really bad. And as I put in my tweet, yesterday, no. Mm-mm. I mean, that can't happen. That gives it back to pharma. The worst draconian thing, which I know can't happen because it would cause Alaska, Washington State, Oregon, California, Colorado, and Nevada literally to split off from the country because they got way too much involved in their legal adult use economies now. But you can imagine big pharma saying, oh no, it's a drug now. All those legal adult use states, they're going to take their programs back. That can't happen. But
you can see big pharma.
But it does take away the possibility of whole plant access to patients. And pharma's going to want it. They're going to try and control it. And to me, they've messed it up already, to that extent. And we got to be very, very cautious with the next step. So what we want and need is complete descheduling, right? Which allows each state to take its own route. Once again, New York, as a Democratic state, they got home grow 6 plants. They got all those good things in the program. But once again, here we are in Florida. We can't even get telehealth.
I know. This is what I just don't understand. Why, as legislators also, they see what's happening in the country. Why not step up and be on the wave? Why be so far behind the wave? It looks ridiculous. Your voters already voted to be on the wave.
Now, I know the George Floyd decision, of course, reached you, and that was impossible.
I just found out yesterday, actually, in the afternoon on the plane, because again, we were traveling, so we didn't really connect.
And I almost look at racial and social injustice, almost like the cannabis world itself. I mean, fortunately for that decision, it went the right way, but it's just a start. It's a part of a continued process, right?
I think the outrage, if it wasn't a guilty verdict, I think the outrage in the country would have been through the roof. It would have been riots in the street.
See, that's true, but you got to understand that Governor DeSantis came down and said that he thought the jury verdict actually was based on that fear. Whereas I say that this was just so obvious because of the heroic actions, quite frankly, of the young lady that took the video. And to me, akin to the cannabis world, cannabis is just so obvious a helpful solution in 2021 to too many problems to ignore it. Mm-hmm. So as blatant as that video was, right, in the George Floyd case, is as blatant as the evidence is now of where cannabis needs to be viewed. So not to ever put those things on an equivalent nature, because one resulted in, of course, the murder of George Floyd. But fortunately, that didn't come out on the, on the right side.
But even on the cannabis side, and I think this is the other thing. I think if they actually open it up a little bit more, there can be the study. So all those people who are still on the fence or even in the ER world, like you said, in different medical professions, they're still kind of cautious. open it up to research. Let them do the research then, and then let them come out, and then maybe that will finally silence them. And on both sides. And I think even from any perspective, like for the parents whose children are on it, you want a safety measure. So why not open it up? Have the clinical studies done, make it appropriate, and somehow then hopefully all of this will go away and it'll just be, viewed as a great medicine, and we continue. So you don't have all these legislators going back and forth.
Well, there's new things too. There's ketamine clinics and there's psychedelic mushrooms and this. And
there were mushrooms in Hawaii.
So I tell everybody,
we saw shops with that too. We were like, wow, what's with the mushrooms?
I think in a lot of ways is going to be kind of passe in 5 years.
Probably, I think so.
To be doctors. Yeah. Listen, big shout out to what's going on this weekend in Sarasota SRQ, our friend Brian Buono's event. That's Saturday, right, Don?
Yep.
All day.
Noon to 7.
And we're going to be there. Is that what it is? Noon to 7? Or we're going to be out there with the table and everything. So that'll be fun. It was great last year. I think it'll be even a little better this year because unlike Hawaii, that's completely locked down, Ruta, as you know, Florida, not so.
No.
But listen, the point is maybe Governor DeSantis will grant us that 60-day extension on our telehealth. But even better, legislators, and I can't imagine one still watching, although maybe some tune in early, but please try and tag that on somewhere. And like I said, Don, that's almost worth gathering everybody because here's the greatest thing, and we'll end up with it. What happened this year in the Florida House was clearly a joint, every pun intended, effort of patients. First off, okay, they had to listen to the patients. I mean, that was key. But the doctors were organized, as you know. Florida Can, Florida for Care, the MMTCs, everybody got together to pull on that rope. And it's one of my themes. They got the money and the power. We got the power of the people and the power of the plant, right? And the only way we win is if we pull harder than they do together.
It's
right?
a joint effort.
But hopefully the money will dry up on that side that somehow sponsored that bill that stopped us from the progress that we needed this year. But
I don't know that they'll go away. I just they're not going to go away. But I think that the people have spoken, and I think the people are going to continuously speak on this because, like you said, it's 500,000 people. Not even 500,000. It's more than that. Because
it is. No,
it's more because it's over 70% voted for legalizing marijuana in the state. So that's a huge. Oh my God.
That's pretty good. That's the first time that popped up. I don't know why we didn't have that the whole time. Like we usually do, but look at that wonderful background.
Look at the background. We were up in a helicopter without doors, way above. That was the dumbest thing ever. Never do that. Ever do that.
May those
never. Terrifying.
How did I do that thing? No, and seriously, it's funny. No, and may those rest in peace. That listen, those helicopter rides, they're beautiful, but God forbid, once in a while, you see a story. Seriously,
we didn't know that, and then all of a sudden, like after we get down, we met this other couple, and it was funny. They were like, "Do you know those planes actually crashed? Those helicopters were like, thanks for telling us now." As we're kissing the ground, thank God we're on ground.
It's one of those very, very, very small risk but huge benefit type of things.
I didn't see any benefit, truthfully, but I really did.
Well, no doors.
No doors. Funny. So literally, you're in a helicopter, literally like this.
And but at least if you throw up, you can throw up right outside.
Oh, and it will come right back at you.
No, we usually end up with a joke from the other direction. All right, we'll see you next week.
Although I think we need it depends on that helicopter ride.